Warlocks and Waffles. Warlocks and Waffles. Pact once broken, forged. A pact once broken, forged anew. Waffles. Warlocks and Waffles. Warlocks and Waffles. A pact once broken, forged anew. Warlocks and Waffles.
Did you want waffles?
Now.
We're live now.
I thought I had more time in the
Great countdown.
countdown.
Can you imagine? NASA's like, and go.
Oh man, you got to get
Don't
that
stop doing
live
bad.
energy. It is first thing in the morning. You got to make sure people know that they are on the show.
Stop doing
Good
your stupid
morning.
bits.
Well, see, here's the thing. I ran an actual play for about a year, and I don't think a single one of those times those morons listened to me as I started counting them down. So at some
Sure.
point, I just stopped. And there we go. It continued. Love all of you. You guys were great. I had so much fun running for you, and you know you're stupid.
That's
good.
what Dylan says to me every show.
I was gonna say this sounds like a DM. A
Like,
DM,
I'm-
like could be say that to a lot of people. It's like send this, to your players.
Yeah, exactly.
I try not to tell players that they're stupid. I will
Right.
tell a ROM that he's stupid.
I'm not a player. I don't count.
No,
Oh,
he's a
man.
co-producer, and I'm allowed to be mean to him.
Yes, he is. That's what the title is actually. It just allows us to be mean to each other legally.
That's fair. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Warlocks and Waffles. It is a beautiful Monday morning, and I say beautiful in the loosest sense of the terms because it is 8 a.m. Welcome to the show. We are joined this morning by Dylan and Aram of Kill Every Monster. I am so excited to have you guys on. I cannot tell you how many times I have heard about your show from Judy. There was a moment, I think it was when we were driving up to PAX East last year. Junie started, we were like in the same car. Junie is in the back seat talking about like this awesome show that he's that's coming up, and he's so excited to be doing it and stuff. And then I feel like I've heard about it every week since. And
Even when you guys are
It's-
in between seasons,
it
I'm still saying, but, like,
genuinely is
guys,
so good though.
Hey, we got enough backlog that if we're in between seasons, you just get to catch up. It's
Yeah.
fine.
mhm.
That's the great
fact,
thing
we
about
would-
having a lot of content.
He really is. Like we got about a year ahead at one point as far as recordings. It was pretty amazing. We're not quite there now, but we're still pretty far ahead, and that is
Probably about
100% due
4 or
to
5
Dylan.
months.
Yes, he'd know. I have no idea. If this show would not get produced without Dylan, because Dylan can actually schedule and keep track of things and make sure everyone's followed up on, and I am incapable of doing. I mean, I can, like, if it was like, survive,
Yeah,
a
if you
schedule
put a
or
gun to
die,
a
right?
ROM's head.
I'll probably figure it out. I'll still make mistakes. Like, I'll still screw up things, but Dylan manages to keep it all in order.
It's my wife and I work on the same sort of wavelength where she is short-term anxious and I'm long-term anxious. So
I feel that.
I-
if
feel
we're gonna
Yeah.
go on a flight somewhere, I will pack and be all right. And like 2 days, maybe the day before, 2 days before, I will start to slowly freak out that I'm going to forget something and ruin the trip.
Now,
And that'll
do you-
make sure that I pack everything and she's trying to calm me down. And then as we're driving there, I'm slowly coming down to like, all right. And now
Yeah.
like ship has sailed. Like
I was gonna
I'm
ask, do you
confident.
hit that tipping point where you're like,
Yeah.
well, if I forgot it, it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Because that's
Like,
where I'm at.
I'm confident I got everything. I'm pretty sure if I forgot something, it's not that important. And then suddenly fucking Lindsay starts ramping up. But we're going to get on a plane. We're going to die.
see, I am short-term anxious. I combat that by pretending to be long-term anxious by doing all the planning and getting to the airport 3 hours early so I can sit down with my Dunkin' Donuts and coffee and stare at my gate for 2.5 hours. That's how I combat it. And I'm fine. Like, I know that I'm
Yeah.
going to lose those 3 hours every time I get on a plane. I just sacrifice them
is what it is.
willingly. Yeah.
No,
For the oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like it's exactly why I made sure we had everything lined up where we're as far ahead as possible. It's like, same sort of thing. My wife and I are gonna be having our first kid in like a couple of months, and now I'm back in the mode of like, all right, and I'm gonna get another 3 or 4 episodes done, which means that by the time we're starting season 4, I'll be able to record again. We'll have enough lead time and I can start catching up on episodes and we'll be able to get it. We'll be good. We'll be okay.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I've got
I'm
enough
lying to
content
myself.
to edit for like 3 solid weeks. I'm good for a while.
I'm not worried about 3 weeks. I'm worried about 5 months.
I know. We right now, like we have enough to edit through the rest of season 3 and into like a third of the way through season 4. Like we're fine.
That's so much content.
That's good. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
You and your wife.
I have anything to do with that.
Not you.
No, I also
No,
accept. No,
Congratulations
I
on your backlog of content. That's exciting.
You are welcome.
Congratulations on your work.
Your child.
Some people don't have work, and also I also accept Hunter's victories as my own.
That's true.
It makes me feel good. So I mean, you're like I'm a part
You're
of that
right.
team.
It's exactly like I'm a father.
Yeah.
In fact, Dylan, we're a father.
That's
The show
I
is
hate
your
you.
baby.
that's a fun conversation. All right, so
I'm not having it.
Aram says he's also the father. That means child support. For
The best part of working with Aram is that he lives in America and I don't.
oh god, for the uninitiated, the people that don't know, Kill Every Monster is an any nominated biweekly creature feature. I ripped all their descriptions and stuff, but these two guys they bring on a new guest and they do the best dynamic that I've seen, once again, that I use as like a shining golden star for tight podcasts, where they do a part discussion that doesn't ramble on for 5 hours or 12 episodes, and then an actual play. Now you're thinking an actual play probably runs for 3 hours. Oh, a tight 2.5. No, mofo, it is not that. You will not be listening to a show that runs 15 hours to get through one monster. I think, have you done two-parters? I know there's
We've
one,
done
the
two
Shambling Mound.
two-parters. Yeah,
two
we did
two-parters
the
where,
Shambling
like, it
Mound
just-
and the
yeah.
Aboleth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
two
love
monsters
that.
out of 3, 2 seasons so far that just ran a smidge longer.
Yeah.
And then they're good too. So it's not even like, oh, this is a slug.
The Shambling Mound surprised us. I don't think we expected
yeah.
that to be a full 2-parter, but in order to do the whole like someone gets captured, someone gets eaten, you have to do the
Right.
whole
Yeah.
like you had to play that out to get the
Mhm.
feeling for it. So occasionally, but really like our goal was an hour for the whole show.
Yeah.
We
Which was
rarely hit that. We usually hit 115, 120, but 130 is like where we try and like that's it. We don't want to go any further than that. If
Yeah.
it's longer than a movie, it's too long.
Mm-hmm.
You all just launched season 3 with the Pixie. It was fantastic. I got the notification. I told my family, leave me alone. I'm gonna be over here, listen to this.
Listening to very gay Pixies.
It was. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about that only because Junie, I guess, never detects that at all. Like, so the whole
That's
time I
great.
never even thought of that, right? Until you started showing art, like you're very scantily clad, like
I
loincloth
put the
adorned,
grinder
and I was like,
in the
huh.
show.
Oh
I didn't
my
even
You
think
gotta
about it.
realize that's
so
like
funny.
that's a gay dog whistle, Rob.
I know, but
Like there are 1,000 people where if you played that in a room,
They
you
would
get to
have no
pick out
idea.
the homos because you're just sitting there, and then that
That's-
chime goes off, and a bunch of people look at their phones.
right.
Like,
That's
"Ah,
why I did it.
got you,
That's half the
fuckers."
reason right there. Yeah.
It totally reflavored though the podcast because I listened to that episode and then I see that and I was like, oh, I imagine them severely less sexy. I have to go
Right.
back.
Right.
I have
And,
to
like,
go back
I
and
need to
listen to
take
his
off
face
clothes.
he was
Entire
chipping
thing.
nails.
I have to
The
mentally
guy-
edit clothes off.
They describe a crop top duster jacket. Like,
But I imagine like some fantasy bull crap,
It's
some
not.
fantasy anime crap, not like, you know
right.
what I mean? Like I
Right.
guess I went a
Or-
different direction.
More
but-
JoJo's Adventure and less fuck pixies. Yeah. No, I know.
Correct.
I gotcha. Right.
Less that's a sentence. That's
Oh,
a sentence
man.
that had to be said out loud. Yes.
Oh,
It's
that's so
amazing
good.
what things come out of my mouth as a result of this show.
Yeah. Yeah, I do make you think and do things you wouldn't probably normally do.
Yeah,
But it's
talk
fun.
to you.
Right, exactly. But it's also fun because like our dynamic is it's of course a little bit played up for
Yeah.
an audience, but
Mhm.
there is a genuine like friend animosity. Like there are
Right.
parts where he's just like you fucking dumbass, and there are parts with me where I'm just gleefully creating chaos. So it's real, but it's also a little acted up, and we are in a very like we did a show recently with Super Dylan and made them
Oh, they're
very uncomfortable because like they know it's a bit, but
Mhm.
also every once in a while it was like intense and like makes are they gonna fight? And we're not gonna
No.
fight. Dylan knows after this that they're incapable of bothering me. Like there have been times when they've come at me and they're like, oh shit, I've gone too far, and I'm already in their DMs like that was 100% true, and it was hilarious. So there's no way.
I've always had the friendships with my friends where I'm like, if I'm not pointing out that you're an idiot and an asshole, I probably don't like you.
Yeah.
Like if we're not kind of sounding like we're hating each other, then
Yeah.
it's probably like we're acquaintances. We run in the same
Yeah.
circles. If I don't like you
Yeah.
enough to mock you, then we're
Yeah.
not friends.
And Dylan's not mean,
It's-
and also isn't like doesn't like do shotgun insults. Like Dylan's are
No.
laser pointed. He's thought about it.
So-
He's correct.
He does those
So here's the-
concise points that are gonna cut
Here's
you
the
to
thing
the
I
core.
want out of it is like I can make jokes at my friends' expenses, and like yeah, it's a measure of closeness because it's not going to be funny unless there's an exaggeration in it. And if you take everything blown way out of proportion, you run the risk of offending someone you don't know. So polite means I'm not going to joke with people I don't
Mm.
know.
Mhm.
But then when I joke with everybody else, if I know you, I know you will know I'm kidding. And then it's just if I batter you with insults, it gets old. So you got to find the one or two places where you can just go for the gut.
Yeah.
It's a very Bert and Ernie thing. We're very chaos and order Muppet. We know what places we fit into. We like the places we fit into, so it just works.
Mhm. It's
In between that, we managed to talk about shit and actually make a good show.
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those things where like people who don't interact with people like that do not get it.
No.
It was
Yeah.
it was a definite like point of frustration in my relationship with my wife when we first started dating. Because I would like roast my friends and we'd be like hanging out and I would roast her and she was like, "You hate me." And I'm like, "No,
no.
I love you."
Yeah.
Like that's not how that works. Like
no, I'm trying to
but-
show you as included.
Yeah,
it's
when
tough.
when my love language is like slightly roasting you and your love language is words of affirmation, those don't go together great.
No, you got to
Yeah.
find a common ground
Right.
there. Yeah.
We
yeah.
eventually got to
Yeah.
the point where she understands that when I'm roasting her, they are words of affirmation because I probably mean the opposite of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I just have to be conscious about it now.
yeah.
Oh,
I think
man.
one time Dylan was like, "Did I go too far?" And like, otherwise, than that, we're good.
Yeah.
At this point in season 3, we kind of know each other, right? And we also realize when we're turning on the switch and turning it off. Like, I
Right.
think we
Yeah.
can see it at this point.
How did you guys meet?
Oh god.
Oh, never mind. I didn't write that down because I was like,
No.
this is always a
No,
a
no,
question
or
some
I'm
people
just
love or
gonna-
hate to answer. So I was like,
No, it's just like the thing is, I don't
It's just
exactly
so
know
weird.
why we like. I don't know what the catalyst was. I do know that it was at Gen
Grindr.
Con, right? No, to be honest, I did think Dylan was super cute.
This is why I went, oh god.
I definitely thought he was cute. And
Every
he is.
time this comes up, there's specifically the phrase his tight little t-shirt comes out, and it makes me so
he hadn't even said it
wildly
yet. He didn't even do
uncomfortable.
it yet.
It was
Now,
I
he's,
know.
now you have to.
Now I'm
was so
calling him
funny
out because he
because, like,
hasn't said it yet,
now
and
it's a
he just
called
made
shot.
a face where he was like, "Yeah, I do
It's
say that every
really
single
funny
time."
because like Dylan had been working out for a while, was clearly very proud, and like had like this little painted on green t-shirt that he was wearing. Like it was just a lycra overlay. But it was like a little green, like maybe
So-
St. Patrick's Day
You
t-shirt.
remember the
good
outfit,
on
bro? That's
Which
Just
is
friendship.
astonishing,
shirt.
'cause
Just the shirt.
where I'm
because
gonna
the shirt
quickly
looked that
defend
good.
myself because I don't like the idea that like I'm
Yes,
running
your
around trying to
rebuttal.
show off. It was legitimately I started working out and I was smaller than I am now, and I bought t-shirts that fit, and then I started working out and didn't buy new shirts. That is how that
was,
shirt
like,
got
mid-Hulk
tight
when I saw him.
naturally. And then after that, the pandemic hit, I stopped going to the gym, and now I had to buy bigger t-shirts, and it's not for the good reason. It's sad.
I
What's
feel
that meme?
I
You
feel
stopped working out. Why'd you stop working out? I got sad. Like that was everyone during the pandemic.
Yeah.
If I
It's
had
unfortunate.
$1 for every friend of mine who, when I told them that I wasn't working out because I was like, I'm depressed, it's hard getting up in the morning and going to the gym, and they were like, well, if you go to the gym, you'll feel better. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. A pizza will make
My
me
wife
feel
keeps saying
better.
that.
If I go to the gym, I will be sad and also sore. That sounds miserable.
And I suppose accomplished, but how much is that worth?
Right.
Is I found that when I was working out, you had to get over a hump.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I had been working out for like 3 months, 2 or 3 times a week, then it started to feel like actively good to go to the gym. And the thing is, it doesn't feel good to go downstairs right now. And I don't know if I could survive that feeling for 2 or 3 months. It'll just make me cry.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than someone crying in the middle of a gym.
That's true. I would say do whatever little thing you can, because I'll tell you what, I lost 1,000,000 pounds. I was like close to 400 pounds, and then I
Wow.
did stuff. I cheated, did surgery. But it was still like it was a lot of mental stuff I had to do. But still, like anytime I'm
Yeah.
like, people just do it by themselves. It's one thing, and me, I was like, I needed help. I got to a point where I needed help, but
Right.
it went from like to like 180. And then, right, my doctor saw that I started gaining weight again. And some people usually level out, but then
Sure.
it started going up. And he's just like, huh, wait, you said your wife just had a baby? I'm like, yeah. When'd she get pregnant? And you could see. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, this is a 9-month uptake. Oh. And it's called sympathy weight.
Sure.
I said this to my father-in-law. He's like, that's a lie. That's like, and I was like, Google it. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up.
That's witchcraft. That can't happen.
No one
Oh,
talks
man.
about my man
Doctor.
pain. Like, it's just-
I'm
And this
sure.
is
I'm sure the listeners at home have picked up on this already. But this is a Dungeons and Dragons or TTRPG
Correct.
morning show.
Hey, how's it going,
Uh,
folks?
I have an outline. Look, I have an outline, y'all. We introduced ourselves.
We are
we did
almost
an
half an
introduction.
hour in, and we haven't talked about anything
No, we're at hot takes.
TTRPG
Right? No,
related.
no.
About our show.
Look, we're under hot takes right now because I have a part that just says hot takes. I'm erasing what I have there, which is why not save the monsters? That's what I wrote for hot takes.
Sure.
Why not save the monsters? And we're gonna replace it with
Roll for
life.
baby. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I did when I put out the tweet this morning. I was like, "Join us this morning on Warlocks and Waffles as we're joined by Dylan and a rum of Kill Every Monster. Will we talk about monsters? That seems like an easy choice, but maybe we'll talk exclusively about gnome lore. Tune in and find out.
We won't talk about gnome lore. Fuck gnomes.
Dylan
See?
really does
Interesting.
not like gnomes.
But you're already talking about it.
He leaves. He's
you
just
can
gonna
talk
fucking
about
go.
how much you
I'm not-
hate gnomes
fuck
too.
this.
I said we're talking about friendship, which was at the time we were talking about
That's
friendship,
fair.
but it was
We were
good.
talking about friendship
Oh,
and
man.
the perils of it. Yes.
All right, so we know you hate gnomes.
Yes.
Here's a softball. What's your favorite monster?
I love devils. I don't like the way they're handled in D&D because the thing that is appealing to me about devils is the idea of people who push you to make deals.
Right.
And like the Fae sort of sit in that territory, but it's also like for them it's a trick and it's played for amusement. I want the enemy that is smarter than you. I want the thing where you stopped and were like, I could solve all of my problems if I just, and then there's someone in the background that was like, no, I can make that happen. All you need to do is sign on the dotted line and it'll all be fine. Like, I had a player once who her shtick was she wound up making a deal with a devil. And the request was nothing has to go into this. We don't have to do anything. You're going to marry me. Because she was, the daughter of a noble. And they got married and it was one of those goofy little like, all right, fine. Just do the ceremony. And then I went and murdered her parents. Which means that devil is now a landowner in the material plane. You can't banish it anymore. It belongs here.
That's, wow.
Also, a landlord devil is pretty much, no,
The worst.
right on the nose.
That's two monsters for one.
Yeah. Banish it back to the plane it lives on, but like it owns a cute little 2-bedroom right down the street. So like
Yeah.
where is it gonna go?
It would be great if you just cast banishment and then like they pop and then like 3 blocks later you see them just appear and angrily shut the
Just
curtain.
walking out of their door. Fuck off. Do you know how annoying that commute
It
is?
just
They come
appears.
back with coffee. They're
It
gonna
just
come back with
appears
coffee. It's just
behind.
Coffee and a bagel in
Yeah.
a dressing
Yeah.
robe. Like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, bud.
All right, don't do that again. But if you want to do it again in a little bit, I need to check the dryer, I guess.
At least wait until I have to go home and then banish me. So at least you're
If you
saving me
could
the gas
banish
to get
me
back
at
there.
5:45.
Right. You're just,
We
Oh, man.
schedule these banishments.
Ralph, there's so much traffic. Can you just banish me? Thanks, man.
It's fantastic. Yeah,
No,
it's only a
that's-
spell slot. You're about to go to bed. It's not.
Yeah,
You're
you'll
gonna
get
get
it
that back
back.
anyway.
Come on,
Just-
man.
Can you let me go home? I don't feel like walking.
I'm picturing a devil like sitting at a bar and he's drank too much and he's like, "Well, I can't drive. Someone banish me." And
We got a
cleric just
cleric
comes
here.
over.
You can't stay here. And then that's like the somatic component.
Just a cleric bartender who serves a bunch of devils.
That's a fun premise right there.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So
And that's
when you
That's
say
the thing for me. When
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
picking a monster, I'm picking them because I want a plot to happen.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of monsters that are really, really cool. But the effort you have to go through to build the plot around them, like even just introducing a dragon, I'm
Mhm.
like, this kingdom was happy and prosperous. And then the dragon flew over and everybody, where the fuck was it?
Yeah.
Why wasn't it doing the fire thing earlier?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Where does
Where's
it
the
live?
ecology?
What's that thing eat? It's the size of 6 houses.
Yeah. We
Why is there a
talked
problem
we talked
now?
a couple of weeks ago about like I made the comment of dragons are not played smart enough in the majority of games. A
Yep.
dragon is a horrifying monster who is intelligent and knows what they're doing and does it. They are not going to be sitting there doing nothing.
And
The average peasant has an intelligence of 10.
Mm-hmm.
The least intelligent dragon, when it gets to ancient, has like an intelligence of like 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
The least intelligent dragon
right.
is smarter than you.
And those are the white ones that everyone plays like an angry lizard, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody plays the
Right.
white dragon as if they are an animal.
Right.
They're supposed to be hunters. I always
Right.
thought they were like more of like a Craven the Hunter. You know what I mean? Like it's intelligent,
Sure.
so they might be fierce.
Yeah.
But like not as like it's that kind of calculated where it's just like they know how to set a good trap and they might be able to like outsmart normal patterns. But are there grand machinations? Like no, they care about the thrill of this hunt right here, right now. That's how
Mhm.
I've interpreted them.
Yeah.
And now take an intelligence 20 gold dragon. Like these are incredibly smart creatures. You have to play them that way. Like it's like, I don't know how old you guys are. I'm sorry. How old are you two?
I'm 30 something. I'm not
Okay.
trying to be funny. I forget.
Do you know,
34?
I do too. I forget. I literally thought I'd lost a whole year. And
The
ended up being,
last
like, younger than I was.
material birthday I had was like 21 because I lived close enough to the border that it mattered whether I could drink in the US.
Right.
And after that, like you're just getting older. It's just a
Mhm.
number ticking.
I stopped
Who
counting at
cares where the
25.
dial's at?
Like,
Until I hit 65 and I get the cheap coffee at McDonald's, why would I give a shit?
but like you look at like a 16, 17, 18-year-old, they are like adults, near adults. They have
Mhm.
opinions and clearly, direction. They know things I don't know because everyone knows something you don't know. But at the same point, you kind of look at them like, okay, I know exactly where you've been. I see the path you're living right now. I understand and I've experienced that. And it's kind of adorable watching you go through it. You know what I mean? It's like that feeling. Imagine that now, like 10, 20 times removed
Right.
as a dragon. Imagine as this like almost immortal, intelligent, ancient, magical thing. And like you're having a negotiation with some 35-year-old human who says he's king. I mean, like how it's such a vast difference in
Mhm.
conceptual intelligence that it does get a little hard to play. In fact, I think it's the hardest thing to do as a DM is play someone who's really smart when you're just not. Like that's what I run into a lot.
And again, this is a wonderful thing about Devils because, if you're going to invoke Asmodeus, you're playing the worst case scenario of this thing. This is not just way more intelligent than you. This is also like might predate existence.
Right. It's
Mhm.
been planning for a while.
But if you're playing a fucking Challenge 5 Devil who was just like, hold on, I got an idea. That guy might have died like 30, 40 years ago and has been roiling in the pits, just worked his way up from
It's
imp
his
and
first
is like,
time out.
hold on, I've got an idea.
Yep.
Hear me out. I got it.
Yeah.
I do love the idea of like the try-hard devil who like he starts out like, he finally gets a chance. He's a cockroach, gets stepped on immediately, sent right back to hell. And it's just like every time it's just he gets a little bit better at it, but not much.
I have not run a campaign in a very long time, but every time I do, the temptation to put in Team Rocket that is just
I've done it.
devils.
I've done it. I've made them poachers and stuff. I've put them in.
There's just
No,
a,
it is like-
just
No,
a,
I don't even
just a
mean
tiny
put in a
Rakshasa.
Team Rocket. I mean, like you're a first level party. You're going through this goblin lair, and they find a little summoning circle, and bound inside of it is this pair of like a purple and a blue and a pink imp,
Mhm.
and they're scrabbling at the thing like, no, this wasn't how it was supposed to happen. Just set us free, and we can. And of course, the party's just gonna slaughter them. Couple levels later, some like challenge level 2 devils come out and like, no, not you again.
Yeah.
This is bullshit.
Why do you two keep showing up?
I really
Yeah.
do like this idea.
That's very good. I love that.
Yeah.
I've done something like that, but didn't level up the bad guy. it was a pseudo dragon,
Oh, no.
and to make them feel cool, it was they killed him, and a running gag was like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring him back," but every time he's damaged in the way. But I never increased the pseudo dragon's level, so every time they encounter him again, it got progressively more. It's like this time I'm good, and they're just like gone, like lightning. It was,
God.
oh
so
my god,
sad.
yeah. It
I
was a
want
fun
that.
bit. It was real sad.
I want that bit so that I can eventually hit the level 20 party and sit there and have a pair of color-coded pit fiends going, no, not again.
I love that.
Because they're scared of them at that point.
Yeah.
You've stopped us every time, but this time it's different. Every time they say
it's also like you've become their arch nemesis, but they're not yours. I
No,
always like that.
I love
dynamic.
that dynamic so
Yeah.
much. I had one of my groups played in this thing, and I had set up this character to be a like a low level side, like it was legitimately the boss of a side quest. It was this guy who was like training rats to steal things from the town. Like that was his whole thing, and the party was sent to get rid of him, and they like went and decided he wasn't worth their time and just left him in the town because like
just
why
training
would
rats.
they? He's training
Yeah.
rats
Yeah.
to steal things. Like capitalism nothing anyway. Like just take the
Do it.
stuff.
Yeah.
And so they left, and he decided that like, oh,
I'm not good enough for you.
and then he started training, and then he like went
That
and
was
he,
his origin
he got
moment?
like he got a scrying orb, and he would just stare into it, like watching them do things. And so as he got more skills, he was like intentionally training his skills to be exactly what he would need to defeat them.
Oh, sure, right.
It was so much fun.
That's
It ended
fun.
up being like as we were wrapping up the campaign, because he had shown up like 4 or 5 times since then. So as we're winding the campaign down, and like he still wasn't the big bad, they were like, "Hey, can we take care of Mongrel? He is still around. We probably should clean up that mess, because when we found him, he was nothing, and we didn't do something about it, and now it's like kind of a mess.
Yeah.
We should clean that up before we're like done."
I've been trading crows to bring me money. So like your adventuring party might just show up at any moment here to take me out.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
saw it on TikTok. You can do it. Like if
Yeah.
you're nice to crows, they'll remember who you are.
Mhm.
And you just like
They're very
feed
smart.
them. Yeah, you just show them money and feed them, and show them money and feed them. And you can train them to just pluck
that's
money and bring it
fantastic.
to
My
you.
God.
I love that so much.
Hasn't worked yet, but they know me. I know they know because I'll walk out and they'll come down and be like, "Hey," and they're little, like, like, "What's
Mhm.
up?
Yeah.
Where's the food?" Yeah.
That's so good.
This is I've jumped back and forth. But Ram, did we get your favorite monster?
Oh no, we didn't yet. Okay, so I got 2 answers. So
Mhm.
my favorite fun monster that I love that like goes on a t-shirt and like, I would
know.
take selfies with, right, is the Flump. I
Yeah, I
love
know
the
that
Flump.
one.
Love a
I knew
flump.
that
I
one.
adore that little farting squid cloud. So my favorite thing about the Flump, among many things, is the fact that it doesn't actually float. Like the little fart jug, it's just like a puddle of goo, and then it fart slap. Like that's my favorite thing. I can't imagine taking a super intelligent kind creature like, I have all the information for you. Fart slap.
It's not
fart
super
slap.
intelligent. It's got an intelligence of like 10. It's a dude.
It knows things. It's ancient and has wisdom.
No,
I
it doesn't.
love
Its wisdom is like 12.
If you look at the description of a flump and how it moves, it kind of looks like something that you would get in an arcade for like 20 tickets. Like it's
And
that
you would
sort
regret
of thing.
wasting those
Right,
20
it would
tickets.
break after 2 plays, and you'd be like, "Oh, I could have gotten a bunch of Tootsie Rolls. Like, why?"
Also, from the art, you would assume it's huge. It's not. It's the size of a cat.
Mhm.
So it's
Wait,
a super.
what?
It's
Yeah.
the size of a cat.
I've
So-
never processed that.
I know.
I've
Yeah.
never.
Especially because it's oblong. It's like a Stewie Griffin head,
Yeah.
which means the size of a cat. It's actually the size of a head.
Yes,
Mhm.
It's like that.
Like, imagine
I-
if a face was floating at face level, except every once in a while it had to make a little noise, otherwise it would fall.
Yeah.
I imagine them
don't
like
float.
anti beholders, because like we did fusions last week, and I was just like, I took the nightmare of a beholder and then the squiggly what the hellness of a flump, and in my brain that's how I proportioned it.
Mhm.
Oh dear God,
No,
No,
they're
no,
I was
no.
way off.
Have
And
you-
Aram, they don't float in that they don't have like a hover or a
Right.
but I do think they maintain a height. It's just because they have a bunch of little jets
like
under them, and they're just doing a constant little.
fart. See, I always interpret it as like a frog. It's like the fart is the blast to get off and then just slap.
That does
slap.
track with what you want out of a
I
flump,
love
and
that so
is
much.
exactly why I hate them.
I'm saying that you have no proof it's not that. It's all that I'm saying.
I don't disagree with
Have you read
that.
through the
Interpretation.
Spelljammer monsters at all?
No, I haven't even touched it.
There is a flump in Spelljammer whose name is Flapjack, and is a flump wearing a pirate hat.
I highly approve of all
And
of that.
it's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yep. Block the plague.
That's definitely its voice too. Like that's it.
That's how she is.
When I was
man.
doing that, when I was doing the flump noises, I had to clutch my cans to my head, shake my head so violently to make my lips flap, and then like left to right to make it sound like it's going back and forth. I looked absolutely insane.
I love that
But it
so
worked.
much. I love flumps.
So
they're so good.
that's
They don't
my,
get anywhere near enough credit.
They don't.
That's
They don't get
because
enough
they're
love.
bad.
It's wonderful to have a monster that's so ridiculous that if you
Yeah.
fight it, you've already lost because there's no point to it. Who's just there to be kind and nice and pass along some information and maybe eat some bad thoughts once in a while.
Mhm.
And that's the best part. Like as we talked to, it's negotiable. The point is that I love the flump as like a fun thing, but as far as like a monster, right? I've got to say illithids. I've always been fascinated by the mind flayers. I think that they're fantastic big bads. I think they can shape whole worlds and campaigns, and they're just like, it allows you to take everything good and decent about a person and strip it away and just crank to 11. Like they are everything evil. They are leather and midriff bears and tentacle face head eating. I mean, everything ridiculously monstrous you can think of has been crammed into one creature and cranked up. And I love that. I love that about them. It's just like cartoonish monstrosity.
I do love an illithid. They're just horrifying.
Mhm.
I ran a Waterdeep Dragon Heist game, and there is a mind flayer in there that like you enter in and he's just standing there, and then his whole thing is that he like leaves, and it's like I'm not gonna have him leave. He can win this fight. Like why would he run?
Why are we stopping now? Yeah.
And the players like walked in, saw him, and two of the players were like, nope. We should leave. We will lose this fight.
Yep. One of my favorite characters in God's Fall, all my player characters are arisen gods. So they're the god of something and they're finding their path into it. And the god of life is an illithid. So when the mind flayer god of life eats someone, it doesn't just consume their body and their energy, it consumes the entirety of their soul, and then that soul lives within them, within the palace of their mind. They can call them up whenever they want, they can go speak to them whenever they want, and they can become them in entirety because they have all the access to them in real time. They just exist there. And like how I would do it was like the camera goes into their head, and then within like the brain, it's this endless maze. And so when you get eaten, you end up in this endless maze, and that's where you live forever. It's fucking dark as shit. But
My God.
Yeah. But there's so many ways to play with the mind flayer to make them truly monstrous that it's got all the toys.
Yeah, they're absolutely horrifying.
Yeah.
I have more questions, and we have also bits we want to do, but we do something that we didn't prep you for, and this is rude on our part because there is a shenanigans part that we usually do in the middle of the show, and we prep the people that come on here to let your wheels turn because it's early in the morning and you might not like be able to do this, but we do something called the Ranger Report, where we give some news that people can use in their games. We basically say what's going on today and the weather.
It's just a fancy way to transition into the ad segment.
Sure.
Yeah.
I like that. That works.
But Hunter, you want to do the Ranger Report real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's throw this in here.
I never hear it, but there's music that plays apparently.
There is music that plays. Welcome to the Ranger Report, here with all your morning news needs. Let's go. Let's throw it to Dylan with the weather.
It's February. It's still cold. And it's miserable. No one wants to be outside. And it's absolutely terrible. Now, where this is useful in games is people always think about blizzards and like horrible cold as like the environmental effect. But if you have players traveling anywhere and you want to throw a fight at them where they're not at risk of dying, but you want it to feel like a threat, this sort of slog through slush and ice and bullshit lets you. It's not February anymore. I just realized that it's fucking March now.
It is March.
Jesus Christ.
It is fully March 13th as of the
Yes,
recording.
There
of
is
this.
snow on the ground out there when I walk
It's
my dog.
May.
It's February. The calendar can fuck off. Anyway,
Time is a
levels of
construct.
exhaustion because of miserable conditions
Mhm.
lets you make fights considerably more difficult.
100%.
That's just a nice way to get around the fact that, you know, you can't throw goblins at a level 5 party. Level 5 party with 2 levels of exhaustion? Give them like 6 goblins. Good luck, fuckers.
Chet just said it's February 2.0. So there you go.
Yeah. In Ontario, we have a concept, Fool's Spring. There's a point in the middle of winter, usually right about now, where it'll suddenly shoot up to like, you know, between like 6 and 10 degrees on a nice day. It's not frozen anymore, and you think, oh good, it's spring. And just when you get comfortable, just when you start wearing a lighter jacket, it snows again.
Full Spring sounds very farmer. Like that's a
Yeah.
farmer thing to say. Yeah, I can see that.
That's good.
Oh man.
Yeah.
In local news, there is reports that a group of bugbears was seen outside of the town. They are forming a festival celebrating those who can reach the top shelf. So if you are able to reach the top shelf, head out to that festival because they are celebrating you today. Let's throw it to Junie for our ad break. Junie, who's our sponsor today?
We have a fun sponsor. It is Not Your Grandmom's Bags. This is real. If you go to notyourgrandmomsbags.com and use waffles at checkout, you get 15% off. They got handbags made in all kinds of fandom fabrics, bandanas, pet bandanas, stuff like that, different totes and stuff. But their clutches and other bags are perfectly sized for dice. So if you're a dice goblin and you have a whole bunch of dice and you want different ways to carry them, check this out. Not Your Grandmom's Bags. We'll put it in the chat. We'll put the link in the show notes. Waffles, 15% off. It is fun.
Oh, they got little dog bandanas.
They do have dog bandanas. If you've got
That's
if you've got an
cute.
animal companion, these are perfect.
Yeah.
And she takes requests, so it's kind of like whatever you could think of. It's like
Neat.
it's good. It's fun.
This has been the Ranger Report. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Dun, 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 music I never hear.
You could listen to it.
I know. I heard it
It's
for the
in
first time when I was
Google
editing the
Drive.
podcast for the last one. I was just like, oh, that's what that sounds like.
It's great.
Okay.
I love it. I like our regular music, but like the news music is. I was very proud of it when I found it.
For a while on our show, I was just looking for excuses to drop in like, a little bit of techno or dance music here because it drives Dylan fucking nuts.
It's because you can't ever organically put it in the AP. And I'm sure one day you'll find an actual reason.
The Flump episode was perfection. and
Absolutely
you-
nothing in the Flump episode was organic. All of
are
it was
wrong.
bad and shameful.
The Flump was described as as a literal disco ball. That's how they were introduced. And then I, underneath that, put in some disco music. It was flawless. I stand by it.
If
Yeah,
I
so
can
is that in
defend
the actual play?
Yeah.
Because that
If I
was the
can
thing that I specified.
if I can
Actual
defend
play.
both of you on this one, because there are points where both of you are right and both of you are wrong in this very quick micro argument. In that you were like you described it a certain way, so
micro, this is
it felt organic because you described it that way. That is true. But Dylan is also right that it felt like you were like, I want this to happen. So this is show I orchestrate. I am the god of this Flump episode, and I was like, "Oh, you can tell
written
this is,
organic.
this is his dream right here.
Yeah.
This is his episode. Ain't no like, oh, this is how it built organically. No, he's been plotting this for
To be
years.
fair, this is
like
true.
this is
This
his
is
thing.
100%
Yes.
true. Yes.
There's
I
no
do that,
GMOs in
100%.
that Flump episode.
No, I knew what I wanted out of that episode. I wanted a big gay disco ball squid. That's what I wanted, and that's what I got.
There is one GMO in that Flump episode, and it is the Flump itself. So, are you familiar with the cause of why Brussels sprouts taste bad?
Yes.
So, for the benefit of Junie and Aram, then, for a while, Brussels sprouts grow like directly off the stem of the plant. They're kind of a pain in the ass to harvest because they're irregular.
Okay.
So there was a whole bunch of work. It's not technically, it's not a GMO, but it was, selected for regular growth to make harvesting easier so that they could industrialize Brussels sprouts.
Mm-hmm.
What they did not account for in this process was that they tasted worse. They just made the food worse so that they could sell it to people who would stop liking it and never buy it again. And that's why, Aram, your entire generation has that thing in their head of Brussels sprouts are bad.
Right.
And my generation is slowly finding out that they're delicious because someone noticed that they made the mistake and they've corrected it. And now Brussels sprouts are actually quite good. Roasted Brussels sprouts.
Really?
Fucking great.
All right, I'll try it.
Brussels sprouts do not taste the same anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
They've gone back and fixed it.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
They patched that bug.
They patched Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All of our foods like that.
In the same vein, Flumps have a bunch of lore and a bunch of things they're supposed to do, and then they industrialized them and made them the CR0 monster, and now they're shit and have no flavor and are just a thing with like a little stupid slappy attack, and they don't do the thing that it says they're supposed to do. And yeah, if you brought the lore into it, if they did the thing it said on the tin, that would be great. But they don't, so now they're just worse goblins.
That is patently untrue. But also, I didn't attack your monster, mister.
That's because mine wasn't garbage.
I supported you.
I would support you if you made better
than
choices.
you.
I'll die on this hill. Flump could go to hell.
Before we go into this next bit, I do have one quick question that's like show related for you guys. It's like, is there any monster, and this gets serious and like changes the things. I like that the attention you pay to picking the right guest to monster. You don't just do everything willy-nilly. With the Quaddle episode, you put a lot of work. It was really sensitive. Are there any monsters that are off limits, or you're hesitant, or you're just like you're not just like, oh yeah, we'll just do that as soon as we can? Like, is there anything that's like that?
Nothing's off limits. However, drow, orcs, oh yeah, like we are thinking very hard about how we're doing it. In fact, for the drow episode, we're both basically stepping to the side. We're finding other hosts to come in and run the show, and we'll just be the producers in the background. So yeah, there are definitely creatures where we're like, we simply cannot tackle this without taking huge precautions if we're really going to delve into this. And those are the top two.
Yeah.
And even then, I was entirely on board to not do drow or orcs because of how loaded a topic that is. And because like we invite guests on, and like anytime we have someone on and they want to talk about something that's from their culture that Wizards has appropriated and very frequently done a piss poor job of representing, occasionally fully offensive, we have to kind of watch our asses, right? Like if someone wants to come in and talk about that, great. But I'm never going to like message a Middle Eastern friend of mine and be like, hey, do you want to come in and discuss gin and how, there's nothing in there that reflects something that is actually really, really important to your culture? And especially, I'm not going to message one of my Black friends and be, hey, so we wanted to talk about drow. Would you like to come and be the representative for the racist thing?
It's a super tough conversation to have, but we have friends that want to have it. So we're like, okay, so we will give you all the support and we'll figure out a way to do this where it does not cause harm. Because if we're just going to add harm to it, there's no point. We got to find a way to do it right. At the same time, drow and orcs, you can tell amazing stories with them. So it would be nice for us to be able to find a way to get to a point where you can be like, this is how we feel good about it. Here's a path where we think you can tell really interesting stories and not cause that harm. We just have to get there, and we have to be sure about it. You can't fuck that one up.
No.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know I appreciate that level of detail. There's so many monsters that I'm a sweet summer child. I just take things on surface value sometimes, and just the first
So do
episode,
we.
I think it was the first episode was Banshee.
Mhm.
Just like somebody was just one of you said something along. I was like, this was written by a guy that hates his wife,
That
Yeah.
was wrong.
and then I was just like,
I try to be a
Huh.
little nicer to the. I'll talk about what was done wrong and why it's wrong and if it's bad, but I won't attack the author. Come on, man.
oh no, I'm sorry,
I
no,
would
not
do
like that.
that.
But I mean,
No, I
like
do
legend.
that.
No,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's me.
That was
I'm
him.
sorry. I'm not putting words in your mouth and saying like
No,
X,
you're
Y,
right.
Z
You
person
aren't.
said
Those
You're
are
this.
literally the
right.
words
But,
he
you know,
said.
what I did.
There's so many monsters that I would have never thought about because I take it as like monster blank and don't think about the historical context or where it's
Oh, no,
pulling
and
from and
that's-
other things. And I never think about that stuff.
We
When
did
we
the same
started
thing.
the show, we started it because my complaint was that there are a bunch of monsters, specifically like the Flump, where the lore and the mechanics don't align. And bringing either in line with the other would make it more interesting, right? But they aren't there. And then we started doing it, and you start actually analyzing what's written, and you start seeing like the Hag needs to be completely rehauled.
Yeah.
It cannot, like, I am honestly shocked at some of the stuff that's getting reprinted there because it is blatantly misogynist,
Blood
anti-Semitic,
libel.
blood libel is one of the most egregious fucking dog whistles for anti-Semitism. It is motivated actual murders in real life, and it got uncritically reprinted.
There's also a part in the Hag's description where they literally encourage you to sexually harass your players.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
I
just it's
That was a
such
bad
a
call.
weird decision in a game where there is so much problematic stuff around that to begin with. It is the weirdest decision to encourage it anyway, even in play, that happened. And I understand that they're pulling from some things, sure, but like the smallest critical eye at this point on some things. And I think it's because like there was so much attention paid to the races, the playable races, right? And then everyone just kind of turned a blind eye to monsters. Like it wasn't really, people didn't go, like they're monsters. They'll do monstrous things. And they never really sat there and thought about, well, what is that pulling from? Because monsters are just us. They're just reflections of us. They're just what we're afraid of and what we are biased against and what we don't understand. So you can't just say, well, they're just monsters, because they're not. It's the same as if you're making the mistakes with the race. They're just reflections of us.
Right. Yeah, and there's so many ways to play a monster differently that like it's wild when I see somebody who's using a monster and I'm like, oh, you're using it just
As a stat
exactly
block.
how it's written, huh? Okay. Like I do love a hag if it is done well.
Absolutely.
But like for me, a hag is the like that fey creature that is going to make bargains and deals and like is going to work their magic and stuff and is that like powerful entity. They're not a like little old witch who lives in the swamps and eats kids. Like that's
No, they're a 5,000-year-old woman who's sick of your shit, but is always up to taking advantage of an opportunity.
they're
That
sick
is
of
a
their shit,
fun
but they see
character.
that you're useful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know if
fun character.
I don't know if they've how long they've been doing this, and I should have like fact checked this, but I discovered the other week where there was always like lawful neutral or chaotic evil,
Mhm.
like the alignment thing.
Yep.
But we were looking at it was like the Draco Lich or the Eye Drake or something like that, and it said typically lawful evil,
Yeah, I
and it
believe
put that
that
little
happened.
qualifier of typically, and I
Yeah.
was just
Yep.
I
like,
believe that happened when they released Monsters of the Multiverse.
Yep.
They put
Okay.
that on a lot of the monsters.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
yeah,
It's
I was
good.
just because
It's
I
a
never
step.
looked at that, because I was just like, I'm gonna use this however I think
Yeah.
is right, and
Yeah.
give
Right.
them their own whatever. But like, I was just like, because there's some people that just go literally, and then they
Yeah.
use that to justify blank, and it's just
Right.
you got it's helpful to put things like that in there.
It
Where
is.
it's like this
It
isn't
is.
not everything's black and white.
Yes, it is helpful to not make things black and white. It's just, I still don't like they're clinging to. They are clinging to that alignment system, like with both
Oh, yeah.
hands, but it is dead. That corpse is so
I
dead.
know so few GMs that use it in any capacity.
Yeah.
Let alone like clinging to it like they are.
Yeah.
We were on Unprepared Casters. It's not out yet, but we talked about protection from good and evil and about how that doesn't make any sense because what's good, what's evil, who says what's
That
good and
entire
what's
season
evil?
is out, or the entire arc is out.
It is out. Okay. So it's like when they talk about like what's good and what's evil, we're like, well, is that from the perspective of you? Is it from the
Right.
perspective of the god that lent you the power? Like
Right.
who's making this call? And when you really kind of step outside of it, like the alignment system just falls apart completely. I mean, people have experiences and make choices and change, and you can't just like all of you now are in this circle. You're born in this circle, you die in this circle, and all of your life means nothing in the meantime. It's just not fun.
Yeah.
It's boring.
I like using the like it's something I've done subconsciously. I never thought about it, but I never use the good, evil, neutral element of it. But I do like using the chaotic or lawful or neutral element of any sort of alignment.
Yes.
Because that just flavors like this person has rules. This makes sense. It's their logic pattern. So it's like, oh, this person's going to do whatever.
It's very
fun or feels good.
behavioral.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also
The trouble you run into is if you present law or chaos without good or evil, people project good and evil onto it. So the old alignment system sort of backed us into a corner now where it's just we're always going to wind up doing that.
right.
So you
Like,
just got to let it go.
If you've got like a goblin in D&D, like a goblin I believe is chaotic evil as written. And like I love they're neutral evil.
Out of curiosity.
They're neutral evil.
Yeah.
They're
They're little pricks. That checks out.
But like to me, the majority of goblins in my world are like, if I'm gonna put them on the alignment spectrum, are probably around chaotic neutral. I'm like, they're just mischievous. Like they're just these like they're going to go in and they're gonna take the chickens, and while they're at it, they have like put everybody's laundry from one clothesline and mixed it up into other people's clothesline, so all of your laundry is mismatched across the town. Like they're not there to like raid and pillage. Like that's
they're not there to be unnecessarily cruel. They're just like they are hungry and they want to be funny.
Right.
Yeah. I much prefer like, are they chaotic dumb or are they chaotic smart? Like that's how I like to judge it. Like, okay, now I know who I'm dealing with.
I find
am I trying to destabilize this to create an opportunity for later, or am I trying to destabilize this because I'm like
because it'll be funny to watch fall over.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you, bitch.
Why am I pulling the pieces on the bottom of the Jenga tower out? Is it because I know the next person is going to have a harder time pulling the next Jenga block? Or is it because I want it to fall and hit them?
Yep, exactly.
Or is it the first one still bifurcates into, am I pulling them on the bottom because the next person is going to have a harder time because I want to win? Or the next person is going to have a harder time
and that's funny to me.
Funny.
In your Goblin episode, wasn't it just they were stealing beer?
Yeah, that's it. Bad beer too.
They wanted
beer made from garlic.
Premium. Yeah,
I love that. I was talking with a GM recently who ran a one shot where the entire premise of the one shot was the adventurers were hired by the town dentist because goblins had stolen all of the toothbrushes. Like, that's so good.
We had one where we talked about like either a troll or the goblins are the ones who hire the adventurers. So there's just a side like, someone stole sheep and no one stole them. Like the flock was just moved over. It's like, where's sheep?
Oh, that's so good.
That's really good.
If I were going to run that dentist adventure, for the record, the way you make it just a little bit bigger is you swap out goblins for kobolds. And the reason for this is they needed to be able to properly polish a dragon statue for their dragon lord. And then you have like a young red dragon coiled around this golden statue with a bunch of kobolds sitting there with toothbrushes, just making sure they get in between all the scales. And that gets to be your boss battle.
You could even
that's my edit on that.
You could even do all of the gold in the town was all like disappeared overnight, and also all of the toothbrushes. Like, we don't know what the connection between them is, and then you find they melted all the gold down to make this gold statue.
Do it as a two-phase thing. Everyone was robbed, and then they realized how it was done the first time because the exact same tunnels were used to steal all of the toothbrushes. So we know it was the same people. We
Perfect.
just don't know why that was
Why that
choice
was the
number
second
2.
wave. Yeah.
Because nothing silver has been touched.
Hmm. I love that so
Lots
much.
of valuable stones, but they went through toothbrushes.
I don't know about you
Uh,
guys. I find that the alignment system also lends itself to like the players who say like, "Well, it's what my character would do," are also
Right.
the ones who are playing like chaotic evil, and they're like, "Well, I like you never hear a neutral good character being like, well, it's what my character would do." It's always the ones
Yeah.
who are like, "I want a justification to be an ass."
It's why,
And
yeah, it's
so
why
I'm
you
sticking
don't
to
want to
it.
do black and white examples in D&D. It's also, we were just talking about how D&D has to write so defensively because of its fan base. So much of the rules as written are defensive rules so that the rules can't be taken advantage of. And there's a lot of time spent doing that. And in fact, in D&D, there's almost like a cultural part of it where it's like, what can I get away with? What can the DM
Yeah.
punish me with? So
Mhm.
there's this give and take already built into the rules where it's become a tug of war thing. So everyone's looking for a way to use the rules as a weapon as opposed to what rules are, which is language. So it's supposed to be about communication, and instead it's been like, well, I have the biggest bat because I know this little thing that you didn't know. And I
Mhm.
don't think that's how this is supposed to work. And I think that's a big problem in general with Dungeons and Dragons, and that maybe streamlining the rules a bit, maybe it'll be better for the game. I don't know, but I do think that that is a problem in general.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree.
so just for the worst example for why this had to happen is because like forums did a huge amount of damage to D&D.
Yes.
Junie, I
Yeah.
don't know how long you've been playing. Are you familiar with the locate city bomb?
no.
So the reason the other two are nodding is because someone went through in 3.5 in Pathfinder and they found the combination of feats that you could use to come on, there you go. They found the combination of feats that you could use to turn a non-damaging spell into the greatest weapon of mass destruction in D&D. Locate City gives you a 10-mile per caster level radius and finds a city. And the target of the spell is then the city that you're locating. If you then apply a feat called Snowcasting from one random supplement, the spell now has the cold descriptor attached to it, which does nothing else aside from augment the description of the spell. But then if you apply the Flash Frost feat, the spell now deals 2 points of cold damage to everything in the area of the spell, and the area of the spell is defined as that 10-mile per level radius.
I got
Then
it.
apply Energy Substitution, which changes it to electricity damage. Then if you use the feat Born of Three Thunders, it spell deals half electric, half sonic, but it now requires a reflex save, which allows you to apply the explosive spell feat, which means all creatures in the area that fail the reflex save are shunted to the outside area of the effect and take 1d6 damage per 10 feet moved. Which means if you're in the center of that being cast by a level 1 caster, the radius is 10 miles. And if you fail your reflex save, you are shunted 10 miles and take a d6 damage per 10 feet moved. So if you center that, if you stand in a city and cast that and half the population fails their save, they die.
Yep.
Does not matter what level they are.
Yep.
There is enough damage there to murder anything. And that is clearly a bad faith reading of how all of those feats are supposed to work.
Right.
Mhm.
And how that spell is supposed to work also. Because, like, yeah, strictly speaking, the area of effect of the spell is that 10-mile radius. But, like, the thing you're actually affecting is your ability to understand where something is.
Mhm.
That's
It's
how
a
I would have
divination
interpreted
effect.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because it's all, like,
Yeah, I feel you.
because that's how people work, because that sort of theory crafting is fun in and of
Mhm.
itself. But then you have a certain breed of player that was looking at it and not taking it as this fun little thought exercise, but taking it as, and now I can take that and apply it in my game. And now the DM had to be like, bud, you know, that's clearly going to wreck everything.
Mhm.
Like that's going to not just derail the campaign, but destabilize the world.
Right.
And then I have to completely rewrite it, and that's not fun for me. And a player gets to sit there and go like, no, that's what the rules say though. So they went back and they started rewriting rules to make sure that these holes were tightened up which
Mhm.
made it just more mechanical,
Right.
which made people look for the loopholes instead of
Which is
finding
then
ways
what
to-
resulted in 4th edition, which 4th edition was like very like mechanical. Everything has one specific intent behind it.
It is explicit what it
right.
does.
Yep.
And then they
people did
loosened it
not
up
like
a little
that.
bit with 5th edition, but
Yep.
Yeah.
um
You can
And
still
now
see
they're
the
having to
artifacts of
tighten-
that defensive design.
but
And now
those
they're having to tighten back down again because they're having
Right.
to basically hand it all over to a computer, and the
Mhm.
computer's like, I don't like it when there's like not a
Right.
very clear answer,
Right.
and so they've got to go back to that a bit now because that's where their focus is going to be from
well,
here
and
on
those
out.
those same forums that gave us things like that were like, obviously that's a nightmare. Like the fact that you can do that so easily, that's a nightmare. But they also gave us things like the black hole arrow. Are you familiar
Right.
with this one?
Which is fun.
Yeah, the black hole arrow, where you shoot it and it puts a bag of or a portable hole into a bag of holding when it impacts and rips a hole in space and time and throws things out into the astral sea. That's awesome. Like that is like I've seen people that have drawn blueprints of the
Yeah,
arrow.
totally.
Like
It's so
it's
clearly within the
beautiful.
rules. That's
Yeah.
why that one's so
Right.
great.
Yeah.
Like
It
as
follows
a
the
DM, you
spirit
kinda have
of
to
the
go,
rules
you know
and the
what?
world.
That
Yeah.
works. Like no, like it's so rare that you'd have both things
Mhm.
and figure this out that you really don't have to worry about it. But yeah, in this world, I could see someone going, you know what?
Yeah.
I
To
think I
go
can make
ahead
that
and
wall go away.
Well,
to
I
go
had
ahead and
a
spoil the Pixie episode, same thing. Like there are the rules around summoning animals, right? You
Mhm.
I
can't
was about to
summon an
bring that
animal
up.
somewhere that it can't exist. So you can't summon a horse in midair to drop it on someone. And that was a very defensive writing of that because in a certain game, that could be funny, especially now that we've specifically written all summon spells to not really be animals. It's a fake spirit in the shape of a creature. And when it dies, it just goes back to the plane and no one's hurt and nothing bad has happened.
Yeah.
But there's no writing like that for polymorph. So when a character flies above someone else, polymorphs a buddy that they were carrying and drops them. Like, yeah,
That
that's how that
great.
works, bud.
Yep.
Please don't do that again.
Mhm.
But also,
Good
I
on
can't
you.
fight you on that.
Yeah.
Weaponizing
It is
cows.
it is
and horses, yeah.
very entertaining though to see the like the big bad getting away and then polymorphed into something and they just plummet.
That
Like
is fun.
that's
Yeah.
very entertaining.
Mhm.
Yeah,
One of my
man.
favorite parts about the Pixie episode was the realization that the characters are pixies. They all weigh less than 10 pounds, and I have Mage Hand, which has now become a devastatingly dangerous spell all of a sudden.
Yeah.
When I can just pluck you out of the air and draw you
You
back.
can use
Yeah.
Mage Hand as a Maximilian's Earthen Grasp or whatever it's called.
Totally.
I was
Exactly
doing
what it was.
dishes. I was doing dishes, and I was like,
Yeah.
"It's less than 10 pounds.
Yeah,
You can
they
just
do.
grab it."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That
I- like,
there are
also
things
means you
in
can
the
use
language-
catapult. You can just catapult a pixie out of the
You
air and
could.
throw him into a wall.
Oh my
And
God.
kill them
Yeah.
because that's a save for half type of
Yeah.
situation, and they only have one hit point.
I
It doesn't matter
always-
how low
I
you
had a
roll.
group that I have a group that consistently tries to use catapult to launch their druid at things. And so the druid will wild shape and then they launch it using catapult, and every time they hit the thing and they take a bunch of damage and get knocked out of their wild shape and the damage carries over and they're always surprised by it. And it's like,
Right.
this happens every single time
Hey.
you do this. This is
Right.
not a new thing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I didn't expect to take a bunch of damage from hitting that thing. It's like, you were catapulted at a wall, my friend.
Mage Hand is my favorite spell to totally abuse. I played a cat, like an awakened cat,
Mhm.
and the cat was less than 10 pounds and could cast Mage Hand. So I would just I would just scruff myself and carry myself to
love it
different
so much.
places.
Davy Jones in the chat, in one of my games, plays an awakened mouse who flies around on the palm of a mage
That's
hand.
amazing. I
Yeah.
love that.
It's good shit.
I have arrived.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like when you're not writing that defensively, you allow for stuff like this that's clearly ridiculous, but also harmless.
Right.
It's just watching for those players that are going to be like, hey, since I'm a mouse, can I? Like, the fact that you had to use that tone means no.
Mhm.
Please don't.
I do love when a player is like, now listen, I know I know this isn't the intent of the spell, but can I use it like this? And I love it when they come to me like, I have a request. If you are feeling
Yes.
kind and benevolent as the god of the world,
That's
will
my
you let me
divider.
use this thing?
It's the
That's
same
exactly how
tone.
I
It's
come
the
to you,
same
Dylan.
conspiratorial little thing.
Uh-huh.
But if it starts with the hear me out on this,
Mhm.
I will hear you out. That's not a guarantee that I'll let it happen,
Right.
but I'll listen.
I will always hear you out.
But when it starts with now, because I should be, there's an authoritative side to that tone where you're trying to clearly argue in the rules why you should be allowed to.
Right.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that you have a misunderstanding of the power dynamics. As the DM, the rules are subordinate to me.
Right.
So
Let me
you need to
refer you
stop
to the
calling the
beginning of the
authority of
Dungeon
the
Master's Guide.
PHB as
Right.
if like, well, the PHB says I can do it, so you should let me. Like,
No.
no, I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Let me
Get
let me
out.
refer you to the beginning of the Dungeon Master's Guide where it says these are all suggested rules,
Yep.
and the GM is the ultimate authority in the game.
There's the third option with us where I remember rules the way that is convenient for me at the time and lie because I don't fully realize I'm lying. And
There's
Dylan's
an
like, that
episode
is
coming
utter
out where
bullshit.
Aram claimed, I have the mounted combatant feat, which lets me roll the save with my bonuses for my horse.
I was trying to save my horse.
I understand
My
that.
brain was just
But the
making
thing that
connections.
people who are more knowledgeable about the game might realize is that's not what anything does. It's not what that feat does. There's not a magic item that does that. There's not a spell that does that. There is not a class ability that does that.
Mhm.
That's a thing you just made up.
Right.
I was trying
That is just
to defend
utter
a horse
bullshit.
that was loved and had a name, and I feel like I was justified.
Nope. That's not how anything works.
Oh man, I had a player who would consistently just forget to like make notes on their sheet. They wouldn't mark anything off. They like consistently. And so there was a period of time where every single session they would fail something and they'd be like, "Okay, I'm going to use my point of inspiration." I'm like, "Where do you have a point of inspiration from?" And they're like, "I think I got it a couple episodes back. I haven't used it yet." And I was like, "Okay." And then the next session it would come and they would do it again. And I'm like, I'm fairly certain I ran a
Yeah.
lot of games. So I'm not 100% certain I didn't give you a point of inspiration, but I'm fairly certain that you
Yeah.
don't have one right now. And they're like, well, it's on my sheet. And I'm like, okay, you can use it. Mark it off. And then
Right.
I would like make a note that they definitely don't have one. And then the next session would roll around. They're like, I'm going to use my point of inspiration. I'm like, you definitely don't have one. I am 100% certain on this.
Yep. I've done that to Dylan a couple. Usually I'm pretty good at remembering what I have,
Mhm.
but occasionally I will just like, well, I know this is true because it helps me. And my brain goes, yeah, that's real. And then I just say it.
Fortunately, I know enough
Yeah.
to know when he's full of shit.
I think initially you wavered a bit, but now you're just like, that is patently untrue and you
No.
are lying.
And I've called it out a couple of times where it's like I've let guests do shit because they came to me and were like, this isn't how this works. Can I use it too? And you're like,
Yeah.
I tried to do that. No. What you did was you came to me and said, this feat does X. And I was
Right.
like, no, it doesn't. You're wrong.
Right. We have responsibility
Stop
to the
that.
guest, you asshole. Stop making shit up.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Somebody in the chat brought up that in our Humblewood game on Tuesdays, Hunter was messing with me. He plays my brother in that game, and he took a shower before me. He used the bathroom, he used all the hot water, and I knew in the back of my head what I was gonna do, and I should have asked the DM, and I didn't do this. But I definitely was like, go ahead, yeah, fine, go ahead. And then once I discovered that the hot water was done, I like whatever tank we're using, I wrathful smited. I think it was
Yeah.
wrathful smite. I smited the tank to heat up the water so I could have a hot shower. And I was just like, I don't know if this is how this should work, but I'm gonna set fire to the water real quick. I'm gonna set
Pretty
fire to the
much.
rain. I'm gonna set
Why
fire to
is
the
that
rain
on-
and give
Yeah.
myself a hot shower.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Water
I've
is
done
an
that.
object. It fails its
Yeah.
reflex save. It's now on fire.
Yeah.
That means
You-
it's hot.
If you come to me and say, I want to spend a very limited resource to do something that doesn't matter at all,
Right, with
100%.
no mechanical
You
advantage
can,
whatsoever.
you can
I will always
absolutely
give that to
burn
you.
a spell slot to
Yeah.
take a warm shower. Sure, why
100%.
not?
How do you feel?
Yeah.
You feel good about that? Great. Yeah. No, that's
I will
fantastic.
say, if you do stuff like that, I will still I won't promise anything, but I would, if later on you're on like this long ass hike and you get to the
Yeah.
end, you know what? Advantage on your con save to not take a level of exhaustion because
So
you
would
took
I.
that warm shower. You're feeling good. Like
Mhm.
you are
100%.
coming from high to negative. That's a bigger drop than
Mhm.
normal day to negative.
It's like when
I'll
you
try
take
to
that
give you
warm
something.
shower and you go for a walk when it's cold out and you've got like 10 minutes of like warm shower armor before you know what I mean? Before you start
Mhm.
to get cold again. Yeah.
That was good. Yeah.
For anybody who is in the chat and watching, I will also drop in the chat there. That is the link to the GR Cruise channel on Twitch. That is where Junie and I play Humblewood on Tuesday nights. And Junie plays a rooster paladin, and I play a mouse rogue. And it's very, very fun. We're adopted. Our mom is a crow. And it's great. It's a fun game. If you enjoy just brother vibes where we are constantly harassing each other, and like we didn't
So
talk
bad.
about that. We didn't plan that out or
It just
anything.
happened.
First
Yeah.
session, we were like, "Oh, we're brothers. Cool. I will harass you." This is just something we're gonna do. But we also are constant like going to bat.
Yeah,
for
we
each
get
other
into
as well.
mischief. You got up you got up like and the night when we were alone. He was like, "You want to sneak out at night?" And then I instantly was just like, "Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I
Our
do."
mom sent us to bed at 7:00. We're like, we're fully grown. Our mom put us to bed at 7:00
Oh yeah, I'm an
and
adult.
went downstairs.
Full blown adult.
And so we immediately were like, "You want to sneak out? Let's go." And
There's
we
a running
just
gag where I
disappeared
think
off
I
into the
say
woods.
I'm a grown ass adult. Like I think
Yeah.
I was just like I'm a grown ass adult, y'all.
Yeah.
I am. I think in my early 20s. This rooster,
Oh,
I could leave if I want to, but
It's
we're
so fun.
sneaking out.
It's such a good time. We are over our time.
Technically we're over. I totally had bits, but
Yeah,
I was just
it's
like,
just so
this
much- it's so
conversation
good
is
to
good, and I'm not
talk.
interrupting this. And there was questions, there was other things that I was just like, I just like talking to you guys.
Do you know we didn't mention at all? We didn't mention your upcoming Methods episode, which is excellent, by the way. Like I have listened to some of the raw audio, and it's really quite good.
I apologize because I do
Don't
the thing.
apologize.
We all have filler words.
It's like a year away. Don't apologize.
No, not that. Whenever I edit it myself, I realize that everybody says or like curse, and I've tried to do better with cursing, but I say like a lot. And when I edit stuff, I'm like, and I'm like, oh, that's annoying. Just hearing in the moment, you don't think about it.
Sure.
But hearing it in playback, I'm like, oh,
Editing-
I'm so sorry.
Editing your own audio is the worst.
Yeah, exactly. You hear your own audio worse than anyone. It's torture for me. I cut a lot out. I leave a couple in, so it sounds natural.
It sounds natural.
You're never going to hear it by the time it comes to your ears. But yeah, it is.
I didn't want to say anything. I was going to say, am I allowed to talk about it? That this happened.
Totally.
I'm in season 3, y'all.
Dylan gets mad when I put out whole season rosters, but I can occasionally talk about things.
No, I get annoyed because sometimes we'll have a guest booked and there'll be a difficulty in the recording, or we have to re-record something, or schedules don't quite work out and it has to be shifted around. I'm like, until we have audio in hand,
and I know it's
do not announce anything.
And I've mostly acquiesced to his rules. Yes. Mostly.
Yeah, mostly.
Aside from my highly anticipated episode, is there a sneak peek? Is there something this season that you're just like, we can't wait for the blank?
I'm super excited for Blank Dogs. It was the
I
goofiest
love Blank Dogs
adventure.
so much.
Like nothing we've done is near as wacky and goofy as this adventure. Nothing.
It got out of hand immediately.
It's the best. It's like a golden retriever Blink Dog and his hapless pixie handler, and it is the best.
I had an entire this was one of the ones where I was like, okay, I know where I want this to go. I have a basic idea around this. This is how we're going to line this up to make this an actual adventure. Because the problem is the Blink Dog is good.
Can't hurt the Blink Dog.
You can't put a PC in that not even just you can't hurt the Blink Dog. engineer a situation where you have a humanoid player character hunting a blink dog to kill it.
Yeah, it just
It's
like
actively difficult.
I mean, unless I'm just playing Cruella over here, like
Yeah,
it's
and,
hard
like,
to do.
Yeah.
honestly, could be kind of funny if we were like, no, we're gonna make the guest play a herd of blink dogs, and you're going to play someone who's trying to make like a teleportation cloak.
Right.
You know, you could really lean into that
We
Cruella
did-
angle, but then
we-
you
we
have
did
to
think
get
about
the.
it.
But then you have to get the guest to play like 6 dogs,
Yeah.
and recording that, it just becomes a mess. It'd be a fun adventure though.
This is my archfey Cruella,
Yeah.
who is trying to make.
But there's a lot of
a
apostrophes. There's a lot of
cloak out of
apostrophes
blink
and like there's an
dogs.
X.
Yeah.
It's spelled real
Yeah.
crazy.
It's for the Weeby Goblins crowd as you run that game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
no,
because
found
we
it
couldn't go
instead
into
with
that,
display.
I had like a good through line. I had a clear idea of what I wanted to happen, and immediately it did not in the most
Immediately.
thunderous and extreme ways possible.
Yeah, we just completely like it got to the point where we're just giggling because we're just like, what's the next absurd thing that's gonna happen? It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that.
I was
episode.
legitimately left about midway through going, how do I turn this into an arc so that it feels like an episode happened?
Yeah.
I
How do
was
I
gonna
make
say
it
that.
so something happens?
I was gonna say, like, would you ever do like it's not always we killed XYZ, and the spoiler alert, something a lot of times the monsters win.
Yep.
So would are there ever any sequels? Because in mine, it's alluded to that the very specific creature may return in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form. And I know I was very happy at first how something was blank, and I don't want to spoil. I'm saying too much already, but
No,
anyway,
I gotcha.
you know what I mean? It's one of those
It's-
things where it's just like the one guy that keeps dying tile in your game, like you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like that keeps going through. But there are monsters that keep going.
We wrote the show so that each episode it can be enjoyed on its own without having to worry about listening to any others or without being caught up. You can just listen to that one episode. It is a complete story. However, it's all in the same world-ish. There are connections. Dylan has allowed some very explicit connections while also telling me that there cannot be continuous connections. It's not all one big Marvel world.
Network.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. But some episodes do have direct connections. There's one where Zup is in the Dryad episode, and then we see Zup again in the Myconid episode. So like
Unicorn.
Unicorn episode.
You played another character that very clearly
Very
is
Zup-like.
Zup because you're.
Yeah.
Listen, when you've recorded like 40 of these,
Yeah. I've got 3
Eventually you're
characters,
gonna-
guys. They're just different shades of them. I've got a Brooklyn guy, I've got a haughty rich person, and then I've
got
got
a haughty
like,
rich goblin guy.
got a haughty rich goblin guy, and then I've just got some like just
Lovable
flesh
little guy?
monstrosity. I got like
Yeah,
4. That's it.
Yeah, I
And
have
then whatever this
I have
is.
this. I have the small, medium, and large, where it's like my typical small character, my typical medium character, my typical large character.
Yeah.
And sometimes those get like shifted around, and I change the
Right.
attributes. But yeah,
Right.
it's
Am I large and gay, or am I just large? Like there's there's a couple of factors I've got, and that's it.
That's a sentence. That's a sentence that that's a soundbite.
oh man.
Oh god. But yeah,
I hate pointing those out.
there are a couple episodes that follow on, but I think we've done a solid job where I think the Flumph and Aboleth are the only like sequel where it's a direct enough sequel to warrant continuity.
That was the only one where we had someone come in and go, last time on Kill Every Monster, because Cap came in and did that for us. So yeah, that was one where it was literally a through line.
Yeah. Otherwise, I try to avoid it because if I screw up continuity now, I get to claim like either different place in the timeline, or this is a different forest, or this is just another world entirely, because fuck off, okay?
You don't want somebody
But if
quoting
we
a
build
wiki,
this like network of interconnected, like, and I have to keep track of all of the continuity for 40 unrelated plots that are all intersecting, I don't want to do that. Our job is hard as it stands. It's legitimately difficult sometimes to keep like the individual art, like every AP feeling like its own unique story, and not just like, because you can always default to Hunter in the Woods runs into monster, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to add another layer on top of that. Please let me sleep.
It's fun. It looks like y'all have fun. That comes through. Like, you know, it doesn't feel like it's just like, here's another, we're doing this one now. Let's kill it. Like, you are all passionate. You get people that care and actually know crap. You know, and it comes through.
Amazing.
You know, I love it.
The guests are the best part of the show. Otherwise, it would just be us the same time saying the same thing every single week. You know, the guests really make that show come alive.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Do we have anything else, Hunter? I don't want to keep you guys the entire morning because then it becomes lunch.
That is it.
You know, it becomes not a morning show.
Do you guys other than kill every monster? Do you guys want to plug anything else?
I'm on Start Playing. So if you like any of my games, go to startplaying.games and I run some fun games. I'm running an original Star Trek game right now. I'm running a monster campaign right now. So come by and sign up. You can find everything I do at aram.gay.
And my CV is still conveniently short enough that I can just rattle it off. So if you like what you hear on Kill Every Monster, I got to run a short arc on One Shot. Played Havoc Brigade, had a bunch of very, very lovely people come on and cause a bunch of chaos as a bunch of orcs that honestly just defied all laws of physics and logic. And otherwise, we were recently on Unprepared Casters for Arc 11, which is a short arc D&D show where nominally you can jump into just about any arc you want. So if you want to just start on Arc 11,
I'm sorry. I apologize to them. I'm sure it's a great, but I know that's where I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm writing this down.
No, that's what this show's
coming
for.
in.
That's
it was so much fun. You are gonna like it. Yeah.
And then you're gonna have fun listening to all the other arcs that are also absolutely fantastic.
It's a great network with a lot of wonderful people.
Incredible people.
Yeah,
that's
very
awesome.
Very cool group.
Kill Every Monster, available everywhere you listen to podcasts and stuff. Go listen to it. You might be going, which episode? Scroll through and find the thing you think sounds cool.
What's your favorite monster?
Yep.
Yeah, go to it. It's dope. There has not been one where I was just like, man, that sucked. Like, no, they do their due diligence. The freaking production value. Aram, like being up there, God knows how many hours. Dylan with a whip, making sure he gets that right. You know what I mean?
The boot on the back of my neck.
Yeah, you feel
2 more hours
the work
around.
these guys put in. Yeah, you can feel the work
that
they put
is
in.
Directly contrary to how that.
So untrue.
I once got a message from Aram saying something like, I put 12 hours into this edit and it isn't done yet. And I told him that if he doesn't stop, I would come over and beat the shit out of him.
It's the complete opposite. He's like, stop. Most
I know it's not
hours.
perfect, but it's good.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I understand that.
Incredible. It has been such an absolute pleasure to have you guys on. Just an absolute delight to talk with you guys. Coming up for us, Tuesday nights we have Humblewood over on the GR crew. Go check that out. Super fun. If you like Redwall or any other sort of like little critters doing critter things, go check that out. We are also back on Friday, also at 8 a.m. I had to play in my head if today was Friday or Monday. That's not a good sign for the rest of the week. We are back on Friday, also at 8 a.m. I will be at PAX East coming up. So if you're going to be at PAX East, tweet at me, let me know so that I can meet up with you all there. But there's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening there. I will be in the Alchemy booth there, Alchemy RPG. I'm going to be running games out of their booth for them. So if you would like to play with me at Alchemy, I think I'm running, flipping back and forth between 2 different things. I don't know which one I'm running most of the time. So I'll be running things. Come by the booth and sign up for something. But that's going to be a lot of fun. Junie, you got anything coming up?
Yeah. I'm still here. Hunter has locked me into a pact that I can't leave, so I'm also here Friday, Mondays and Fridays. Very Nerdy Dad patreon.com/links that has like all my other stuff. I'm also on Start Playing, and I wish I can go to PAX East. I basically just waiting for some sort of D&D sugar daddy to just go like, here, baby, take this money and go there and shake it fast for content.
Buy
Um,
yourself some pretty
Dragons
dice.
and daddies.
Once again, I said shake it fast for content. That's something I'm gonna write that down. Anyway, yeah,
That's a series of
and
words.
yeah, right, yeah, and at some point, season 3, I'm gonna be on Kill Every Monster. So just if you're not already following them, go. You're an idiot, and then wait.
That is
with
our
bated breath.
tagline. What are you doing, idiots?
Yeah. Yes, and wait with bated breath for my nonsense show that is whatever that was.
It was
Very
such
good.
one. It was
Yeah.
such a good one.
But that's it. Thank you both for coming.
Thank you
I
so much.
appreciate the you guys being here and being awake and alive at this time. As
It was a
We-
it was a crapshoot. You were brave.
yeah, I was like, we could pre-record if it's too, whatever, or you can come on tired as fuck. That's kind of funny too. So like, let's go.
It's so much
works.
better. It's so much better
Yeah.
if you're on. just
Everybody
bright
shows
early.
up and the
Yeah.
show starts with, "Hey, motherfuckers, what do you
Yeah.
want?"
Yeah.
we in this, y'all.
Oh my goodness. Well, we close out the show every week with nonsense call to actions. So such wonderful gems in the past have included things like buy a pizza, eat the whole thing yourself. Fight God. Go on a road trip where you don't know where you're going and then you end up there. Junie took over one time and was like, check your tire pressure.
It was check your tire pressure for a long thing. Just turn off the lights when you leave a room. It was all real dad
was
shit.
real
Like,
dad
it was,
shit.
It was bad.
But we always do these calls to action at the end here. I would love it if you guys could each give me a call to action for this week.
Okay. Take a walk in a direction you haven't walked before and find a vantage point and sit there and think for a few minutes.
Ooh. Very reflective.
Learn algebra, you dicks. I know you think math isn't important. It is. And it's cool. So actually learn how it works. It's so interesting.
This is the perfect example of Dylan and I.
Let's complete the loop. Junie, give one.
Learn algebra.
Hold on, I'm just playing those two side by side, and it is so good side by side.
There's like this wistful. I'm walking.
Yeah, even the
through
tone, it was just like,
fall. La, la, la.
take a walk in a
Find a
direction,
walk.
and then it was like,
Yeah.
fucking do math.
Wait, I get there. I'm like at this like large oak tree, and just find a place where you can look out and
You know
think
what?
about life. And Dylan pops out. Learn algebra, you fuckers.
Get a nice math textbook. Go find your stupid fucking tree, sit under it, and read the math.
I'll get right on that, Dylan.
No, my third call to action is learn math, or else Dylan will find you and make you learn math, and you don't want to learn his math. You want to learn math. You want to do it the way the book teaches, because if he has to make you learn, if he has to learn you that math, look at that look. For
Dylan
the audio
is
listener, he's looking at you with the look of, I'm gonna shove math down your throat.
Yeah, Dylan is the
And that's
Duolingo
not how you
owl
get
of
math
math.
into your body.
Oh man, this
I love the idea of this math serial killer.
Yeah.
He's really pissed off at people
he
who
just
get
hands
math
you.
wrong.
He hands
and
you a
kills
math
you
test.
with math.
He
It's
hands
like
you a math
2
test.
plus
If you
2.
can't prove it, if you can't solve it, he murders you.
Yeah.
The detective
man.
that finally solves the case has like the thing, and he's just like, I found the common denominator. They all like, that's funny. First of all, that's a funny line. Right? I didn't even think
Good
about
to
that.
start with.
But it's just all the bodies, and like all their math scores are low, and it's just like, this guy's killing math idiots.
He's doing the string map on like a map of the city, mapping out where all the murders happened, and he's like, my God, it's the symbol for pi.
Yes. It would be amazing.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
We've just
It's
written
like
the
a
best
Batman villain.
freaking. We've written the best murder story so far.
that is a Batman villain. It has to be.
I love it.
Oh man, thank you guys
Judy,
so
call
much for
them to
being here.
inaction.
Thank you so much for being here. Have a fantastic rest of your week. We'll see you Friday. Remember to take a long walk, sit somewhere and reflect, and then learn math. Either there or somewhere else, but it is definitely the more important of the two, because if you don't, you may die. according
man
to
will get you.
rumors.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that if you don't learn math, you will eventually die.
Yes, 100% of people who haven't learned math will die either in the past or at some point in the future.
And math will tell you.
I
that.
died in the past because I didn't learn math.
That's just statistics,
Do you know?
which is math.
Yeah, you can figure this
Oh!
out real easy if you count it up.
The shit is writing itself, man. Like this is great.
Yeah.
Have a fantastic rest of your week, everybody. We'll talk to you
See
later.
you guys.
Bye.
Well, that was definitely a thing.